It's true. Apparently, Japanese art students in the 19th century were given bread to use as erasers, and because they were starving artists, they sometimes ate it.
Oh!
Bill, how did Andrew Zimmern do in our quiz?
He's a winner. 2 out of 3.
Congratulations, Andrew. Another success. Andrew Zimmern is a 4-time James Beard Award winner. His show Bizarre Foods and Bizarre Foods America air in the Travel Channel. Andrew Zimmern, thank you so much for joining us. Andrew Zimmern. When we come back, we give thanks for the bravery of comedian Bassem Youssef and for the thrilling romance of author Nora Roberts. We'll be back in a minute with more of Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me from NPR. Support for Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me in the following message comes from Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Rocket Mortgage gives you confidence when it comes to buying a new home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand all the details so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/wait. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS Consumer Access.org number 3030.
This is Terry Gross, the host of Fresh Air, cutting in for a moment to tell you we've got some great new interviews in our feed, like with the 2 reporters who broke the Harvey Weinstein story in the New York Times, and Obama White House official photographer Pete Souza. You can find Fresh Air on the NPR One app and wherever you get your podcasts.
From NPR and WBEZ Chicago, this is Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me, the NPR News Quiz. I'm Bill Curtis, and here's your host at the Chase Bank Auditorium in Chicago, Peter Sagal.
Thank you, Bill. On this Thanksgiving holiday weekend, I, myself, am most thankful for the fact that I get to talk to a lot of interesting people, many of them from far away, and I never have to leave home.
We assume, for example, that comedian Bassem Youssef fled his native Egypt just to talk to us. The man often called the Jon Stewart of Egypt joined us in July of this year, and Peter commented how odd it was that a comedian like him trained as a surgeon.
Yeah, this is why I sucked as a comedian.
Really? You started on, another thing I didn't know until I saw the documentary, you started on YouTube, just you basically in a room in your house looking at the camera and telling jokes.
Exactly, and at that time I didn't think that this will actually go anywhere, and I was waiting for papers, H-1 visa papers to come because I was accepted as a fellowship in Cleveland.
Cleveland?
Yes, and it just tells you like how I was so desperate to leave my country to be excited to go to Cleveland.
What?
Yes, and but the revolution happened. I did the show, and then I thought that maybe with 10,000 people would watch the show, and in a few weeks I ended up with having 5 million people watching. And I know when you got now, like my cat gets 5 million people.
Yes, I know.
But at that time, this was 2011. It was Egypt. It was YouTube. At that time, it was unprecedented numbers, and I ended up signing the show, like my first TV deal.
And it is amazing. And then you were right on TV. You had an extremely popular show. So when you started the show, of course, you were living under Mubarak, and pretty soon after you started, the revolution came and he was toppled.
No. I started after Mubarak.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't understand. I thought it was your fault that you got rid of Mubarak. I was going to congratulate you.
No, I can only be blamed for a few things.
Okay. So, and of course, as what happened in your life and in your career, by the 3rd season of your show, a military dictatorship had come back to Egypt, and they more or less shut you down, right?
Yeah, and the way they do it indirectly. They go to the people who own the networks, the people who hire you, and say, like, you're right, he's not allowed to do it anymore.
What was there a joke that finally brought you down, that they finally said, no more?
Oh, yeah, there is a joke that actually brought us down. Sisi won the elections, so that's the big joke, yeah.
Did you have to leave your country? I mean, so the pressure wasn't put on you, it was put on the network to say you don't get to...
But they then came after me. So the thing is, the way that they go after you, no one will be jailed or prevented from traveling because of quote-unquote freedom of expression. It will be something. So it will be taxes. It will be illegal. Like when you get... They didn't get Al Capone for the crimes he did. They get Al Capone for taxes. So I was fighting a lawsuit against one of the networks that stopped me, and it was an arbitration case, and there was no way I could lose the case because they're the one who stopped me. And then I woke up in the morning and I find the verdict fining me 100 million pounds. At that time, it was like $15 million. So the lawyer called me and said, listen, the verdict came out. They know that this is a ridiculous verdict, but they're going to use it either to put you on a no-fly list or to put you in jail. So the verdict came out at 12 noon, 5 o'clock. I was on a plane leaving the country.
Wow.
So you're the Jon Stewart and Al Capone of Egypt. That's a great resume.
In fact, I was going to say to you, I don't think Al Capone is a good comparison.
Yeah.
He was hilarious.
So now you're living...
I mean, Robert De Niro can make anybody look good. So.
That's true. Well, Bassem Youssef, it is a pleasure to talk to you, and we have asked you here, sir, to play a game we're calling...
Eat your tubers, you tuber.
So we were interested and surprised to find out that you began your successful career in Egypt on YouTube as a YouTuber. And so we thought it would only be natural and right to ask you about actual tubers, that is, potatoes. So answer 2 out of 3 questions about potatoes correctly, and you will win our prize for one of our listeners. Bill, who is Bassem Youssef playing for?
Neil Barnes of Baltimore, Maryland.
All right. You ready to do this?
C.
Yeah. You're jumping ahead.
I always answer C.
It's genuinely. Oh, I didn't know they had the SATs in Egypt. Okay. All right, your first question. Potatoes, of course, came from the New World, and Europeans were very suspicious of them at first. A French food expert managed to convince his countrymen that they were a valuable foodstuff by doing what? Was it A, he declared falsely that eating potatoes would result in passing gas that smelt like flowers? B, he surrounded his potato patch with armed guards as if they were a treasure? Or C, he paid Madame de Pompadour to pose with one in a portrait, making it history's first product placement?
C.
I like your consistency, Bassem, but it was actually B. He hired guards to stand around his potato patch as if they were a valuable treasure, and people said, hey, maybe they're not so bad. Your next question. Potatoes have played an important role in pop culture, such as which of these? A, they led to Jimi Hendrix writing his classic song, The Wind Cries Mary. B, a strangely spherical potato with one big eye gave George Lucas the idea for the Death Star. Or C, in the original pitch for the TV show Friends, they were all potato farmers.
All right, I'll go with the Jimi Hendrix thing.
The Jimi Hendrix thing. You're right, yes. This is amazingly true. That Jimi Hendrix wrote that classic rock song and The Wind Cries Mary because he got into a fight with his girlfriend named Mary over her lumpy mashed potatoes, and he wrote the song to apologize to her.
Oh, that's so nice.
I know. Here's your last question. If you get this one right, you win. Potatoes have played their part in war as well as when which of these happened? A, in World War I, when hollowed-out potatoes were used for improvised gas masks. B, in World War II, when the crew of the U.S. destroyer O'Bannon sank a Japanese sub, in part by throwing potatoes at it. Or C, in Vietnam, where a massive potato gun was used to try to send food aid to distant villages.
I would go with A.
You're going to go with A, that they're trying to breathe into potatoes. Yes. Quick, get the potatoes out.
No, I think it's the World War II thing.
That's right. It's an amazing story. It is known to military historians as the Potato Incident. This American destroyer almost ran right into a Japanese sub on the surface, and American sailors threw potatoes at them, scaring the Japanese, who thought they were hand grenades. They jumped into the sub, submerged, and the destroyer sank it with a depth charge. Bill, how did Bassem Youssef do on our quiz?
Well, he did great. He got 2. Bassem, you got 2 out of 3. That means a win. Welcome.
Dr. Bassem Youssef is a comedian and the subject of the new documentary Tickling Giants, which covers his extraordinary career as a comedian in Egypt. It's available now at ticklinggiants.com. Bassem Youssef, thank you so much for joining us on Wait, Don't Tell Me.
Bye.
Support for this podcast and the following message comes from the NPR Wine Club. Discover hand-selected wines for the holiday season. Learn the stories behind each one and enjoy unique bottles inspired by your favorite NPR shows. All with the convenience of home delivery. A special welcome offer includes a bottle of Weekend Edition Cabernet Sauvignon. If you're 21 years or older, join in the fun at nprwineclub.org. Lastly, we were thankful that this year we were able to talk to one of the most prolific authors alive, Nora Roberts, who has written more than 200 romances and mysteries.
Peter, ask her how many books she writes per year.
It totally depends. How long does this one take to write? I don't really plan that out in advance. It just takes till it's finished every time.
I understand. Pretty much. And let's go back. And how did you get started? You, of course, made your name first as a romance novelist.
Yes.
And were you one of those fans of the genre who said, oh, I could do this, or even I could do this better?
Yeah, I think a lot of us started that way. And I always thought everybody made up stories in their heads. Never thought about actually writing them down on paper until I was snowed in with the kids in the blizzard of '79. 3 feet of snow. I live in a rural area and was stuck. No morning kindergarten. It was a nightmare.
Right. This sounds more like a horror genre than romance.
Yeah, I coulda, shoulda, woulda started. Maybe I'd be Stephen King now. Who knows? But that's how I started. Just deciding instead of another game of Candyland, which might have been murder-suicide, I decided to write a book.
Right, I see. What did you do? So in this scenario, you're stuck in the house with your very young children with nothing else to do. So what did you do with the kids while you decided to sit down and write your first novel?
We have a lot of closets.
Oh, yeah. People say that they love your romance novels more than the mass market books because you add a little special something that's not the typical stuff. Could you describe what makes a Nora Roberts romance novel different?
Well, I don't really write romance at this stage, but I write about relationships.
And you don't like to do like the heaving bosom stuff and the Fabio.
I never have.
No,
I never have. I don't have any myself. So
yeah. In Nora Roberts' books, the bosoms remain still; they do not heave.
Yes.
Now, you also write thrillers under the name J.D. Robb. So why are you writing under a pseudonym?
I write a lot of books, and at one point way back when, they were building up inventory, my publisher called me and told me I needed a hobby, and I didn't want a hobby.
Wait a minute.
I just wanted...
Your publisher said to the most best-selling novelist perhaps alive, stop writing books. We're selling too many of them. I have too much money. Stop.
Well, for some reason, they actually wanted to publish other people, too. And my agent had been encouraging me to take a pseudonym, and I really didn't want to. She said, Nora, there's Pepsi, there's Diet Pepsi, and there's caffeine-free Pepsi. And that's when my light bulb went off, and let me rethink.
Oh, I see. So Nora Roberts is your Pepsi, and J.D. Robb is your Pepsi with murder.
Yeah, there you go.
Now, can I ask, how long have you been married?
30, it's math. Wait a second. 32 years.
32 years. And that's a long time.
32 years this summer.
That's a long time to be married. And did your marriage provide you inspiration, or did it provide you inspiration for your novels?
No more than I don't go out and kill people either to
I see.
Be inspired to write a murder scene.
But that touching scene in one of your novels where the guy fell asleep in front of the TV with his mouth hanging open, that was you're telling me you invented that. I have to ask you one thing, because you are so prolific. Have you ever for 1 minute in your life had writer's block?
I don't let myself believe in it. I feel very strongly writing is a habit as much as an art or a craft. And if you write crap, you're still writing.
Yeah.
And you can fix that, but if you walk away, then you've broken the habit.
Really? But you've never finished a novel and said, I have written about all the relationships I can think of and all the murders I can think of, I got nothing?
Oh, no, there are 88 keys on the piano, but do you run out of music?
That's a good point. There she is, ladies and gentlemen. Nora Roberts. Well, Nora Roberts, we are delighted to talk to you, and we've asked you here to play a game we're calling...
You're a recluse who never writes anything.
So, as we discussed, you write under the name J.D. Robb.